So this is the newest addition to the farm. Well, the newest, oldest addition, I guess. It is a 1956 Farmall 200. It's got a Henderson front end loader, and we managed to scavenge a set of 3-bottom plows from a bush from a fellow farmer. So we're gonna try and put in some larger areas this year. Yeah. So, take you on a little walk. Those are the strawberry plants, which are slowly making nice red strawberries. Peppers and tobacco are in over here. Some kale under the teepee. There's not a whole lot going on in the greenhouse at the moment. This is celery that's gonna go to seed. It just got left in from last year and overwintered. Brassicas are all up here, some sunflowers in there too. Tomatoes are all along the trellis, except that back left corner, that's beans and peas. And then we got leeks and onions here. And I think more onions to go in here, and beets were planted here. And then these beds haven't been planted yet. So the garden's getting pretty full. That's the herb garden, which is getting weeded and mulched still. And we've got that sprinkler and this soaker hose you can see laid out up and down the trellis and around the peppers and everything. And that runs off of a hose controller. So we can automatically water stuff, which is a little more convenient. Hopefully we'll actually be able to leave and not, stay home forever. We've got new chickens. 5 new chickens there. They're pretty cute. Yeah. And yeah, so we've got a nice mixed collection of birds. We have some more baby chicks in the barn. I can show you later. Raspberries. Raspberries are coming in, slowly but surely. And walnut tree looks good this year. So we're back here. So just to orient you, that's where the garden is. And then over here, you can see this section that's longer, mowed last night. So this is what we'll attempt to plow and put in. So that will be plowed and then harrowed with disc harrows. And then we're gonna top coat that with a little bit of compost that we got from the peat bog down the road, and seed that with white clover and then plant squash in it. So the white clover should come up as a perennial cover crop, and then the squash should just be able to weave its way through the clover, which will only get, you can see that's white clover right there, and white clover only gets 3-4 inches tall. And it will keep coming back every year. So this is relatively okay soil. It's not like the best soil in the world, but it's good enough, we think, for growing that kind of stuff. And the clover will keep feeding the soil even when we pull out the squash and we lose those crops. So that's the theory behind the perennial cover crop, will be to keep something in the ground feeding the soil microbiology the whole time, even when the crops aren't in there, and then just interplant when we crop into that area. So that's the compost that came from the peat bog. You can see the, well, you can't really see, but I can feel that it's pretty good composition. The peat helps it from getting too dense, and retains water nicely that way. So good compost. We've used it before. We bought, was it 10 or 12 yards? 12 yards, I think, at $60 a yard, plus a $100 tipping fee to have the truck bring it here. So that was a pretty good deal that way, a lot better than buying it in bags. And then we've been using the loader on the tractor to move that around, which is helpful if you're going to do large areas like that. And then this is the little patch of fruit trees. So this is the peach, and unfortunately you should be able to see the later stages of some of it, but it looked really good when it leafed out initially, but we've got peach curl fungus, unfortunately. So basically we just have to keep this tree fed and happy for the year. It's not really going to grow a whole lot, but there's some more of it starting there. You can't really do anything to stop it once it's started. So we'll have to spray with something like elemental sulfur or something like that. Recommended to spray in like the coming fall so that kills what fungus is left on the tree, and then it should be okay next year. And then we've got our little apple trees, which are full of aphids. You can see all the aphids and the ants that are feeding them. So I've got a Castile soap spray that I'll have to come out here and do to these trees. It's gonna rain the next couple of days, so that's not super effective, but you can see how much they curl the leaves by how much sap they're just sucking right out of the tree. Miserable little creatures, aphids are. And then this is probably one of the coolest things. It's a pawpaw, and I grew those from seed, and they're a pretty interesting tree if you want to read about them. I think they're the largest fruit that we can grow in this part of the world. So they're pretty cool. We've got one that's just starting to leaf out there. And this one is hard to tell, but there's a bud right down here just starting to send out a little leaf right there. Yeah, right at the base of the stalk right there. So you need two. You need two leaves for, or you need two trees for pawpaws to pollinate. They have to have unique, you have to have two unique trees from separate seeds in order for pollination to happen. And then this is the backfield. So this is where I'm hoping to do a little bit more soil building research. So it's harder to see because the grass doesn't grow up that tall back here, but basically from like this corner right here, we're gonna go up and follow that line down there. Those are all rose bushes that got taken out. They were enormous. Then we'll take down this pussy willow tree that has slowly been dying. Pieces have been falling off of it for the past couple of years. So that's gonna go. We'll pull the stump and then come through, and I think the plan is to do buckwheat, and then if we have time, another crop of buckwheat, plow both of those into the soil, and then do, I think, alfalfa over winter, and then cut it in the spring when it comes up again, and plow that back in, and then get to planting if the soil's good enough. If not, we'll do another year of cover cropping and building soil back here. Need to take soil tests or soil samples from both of those plots that we're going to plow to see how the soil changes and what it's like over the years. So we will do that. Yeah, you can see the stems on some of those rose bushes were rather large. It just came through with the back blade on the tractor and pushed it over and took most of the spiky parts away. So we have stacks of various piles of rose bushes around here. So my plan, actually, before plowing this, is to dig a trench, probably over here in this very sandy soil. Those rose bushes are sharp. Yeah, dig a trench, pretty shallow trench, and then we've got trimmings from trees over here. So we'll probably start with the trimmings of trees, start a nice fire in the trench, and then keep loading rose bushes on top of it, and hopefully smother that lower fire enough that it burns and makes charcoal. And then we know a few people around who make pretty big batches, like 1,000-liter batches of compost tea. So the end goal would hopefully be to take that charcoal, break it up, and then charge it as biochar, and then plow it into this area, because this soil is pretty sandy back here. And I mean, it's not like the worst soil you've ever seen, but it's definitely like on the sandier side. Not a lot of tilth in here, so it doesn't hold nutrients very well. I don't expect, and you see a lot of, like, up here you get actual bare patches where moss is growing, so the pH is really low, and lots of ants, as with everywhere on this property. Yeah, so this is the backfield. Hopefully we'll be able to show more footage of kind of how that progresses and talk about whether or not what we have planned for that area works out. And this whole area also does flood. There is a town storm drain right over here. You can see the water in there, and a lovely piece of styrofoam that has been donated by the town storm drain. Yeah, so that flows back there into it's actually the Cornwallis River. Very head of the Cornwallis River is back in that field back there, which is that edge is our property line. So in big melt periods, usually only in the early spring when the snow melts, we'll get water overtopping from the town storm drain and coming in and flooding this whole area. And it's definitely flooded up to, well, like the edge of that fence, that corner up there, and flooded basically this whole pasture here. So this is massively overgrown, and these rose bushes I cut down this year because they were pushing the fence out. This is where the meat birds are going to go. So they show up in a week, 100 meat chickens. And that should be good. They should be happy in here. I'll probably come in and scythe down some of this taller growth so they can root through it a little better, but they're pretty good. And I like having at least a couple of the big rose bushes in here because it gives them somewhere to hide, A, when it's hot, and B, when there's any birds of prey around. Tends to keep them away. And that chicken coop is actually most of an old deck that's just cut up and repurposed. And I can't really show you because there's no part of it where it's uncovered, but there's a strip of vinyl siding nailed to the bottom edge and buried into the ground. We had a raccoon get one of the chickens last year, so that was the solution to that problem. They don't seem interested in digging a foot down into the dirt to get in there, and that's enough to keep them out. So yeah, that will be the coming project. And then this is our, kind of hard to see, this is our apple tree here. Grows in that big Y. So this branch up here and this branch up here all grow from that same base of apple tree. It's looking pretty good. It does have some apples on it this year. It's not like of a particular variety, it's just some apple tree that's been growing for a long time. And I was in here the other night and there's so many aphids. It's kind of insane, but I did found a couple of ladybugs having a really good time. Just an absolute feast in here for them. But they were all like inside of a curled up leaf, and like you can see how bad the aphids are. They're just all over these leaves. It would be way too much. Okay, so there we go. There's a set of ladybugs right there in that leaf. And then some type of predatory wasp species up there, I would say, and another ladybug up there. So the natural predators are coming in, which is nice to see, because I would like this, kind of try to use this apple tree as a base for grafting. I did do one graft from a tree out back that did take. I did quite a few grafts, but that's the only one that took. So that's been growing reasonably well. The frost nipped it off right here, but then it's got another leader up here now. Still getting attacked by aphids, but you know, so is everything else. Yeah, and then we're back to the top corner of that area that'll get plowed in and put in with white clover. So that's probably enough rambling for now, and hopefully we'll actually get a little bit more on the recording train so that we actually record some progress this year and not just, you know, record a few videos at the beginning and then when farming gets really busy we run out of time and energy to keep making videos. So yeah, that's the goal for this year, to try to give everybody a good look at what's going on. And yeah, so thanks for checking things out, and hopefully I'll relatively shortly be back with an update on plowing, which I don't know that much about and seems to be a very complicated topic. All right.